Hello everybody,
Random Bystander Here is a random bystander who is here reviewing games on YouTube. For Nintendo November, he decided to take a look at the Stanley Parable, a video game where you make choices as a man named Stanley.
Where's the voice coming from?
So instead, Random decided to have an intro where the narrator talked over him while he looked puzzled.
Okay, this is my review. Let me do this, okay?
Alright then, have it your way.
That's right, disembodied voice.
I remember hearing about this game back when it first came out in October of 2013. The game was developed by Galactic Cafe. And fun fact, the Stanley Parable originated as a free mod for Half-Life 2, but after a few years, the game turned into its own full-fledged walking simulator, where you could control the office worker, Stanley, and make a series of choices, leading him to a bunch of different endings. I had a potato of a PC back in 2013, so I played the game with a friend at their house. This is where we spent a whole day figuring out what can or can't be done in the game, what endings we could discover, what secrets could be uncovered, can you make this choice, or that choice. It was a blast playing it for the first time, and I will never forget the joy that was us dissecting the game as much as we could. Since then, I've fallen in love with the Stanley Parable, and I could never praise it enough. This game has left a huge impact on me and my sense of humor, and I still love it whenever I boot it up on Steam. Heck, I love the game so much, I literally did a presentation about it for a project in college. I'm not kidding.
4-2-17 every day, every month, of every year. Now we have been made exactly for this job.
I probably failed that, but it was worth it. And I'm not alone by any means, as the game was heavily praised by critics and fans. The wit and charm was something truly to experience, especially in the days of 2013. But it has been years since then. Many games have come and gone after the Stanley Parable. And while it has caught our attention a few short years ago, does it still charm us to this day? Does the Stanley Parable still hold up? Let's find out. The game starts us off with the narrator telling us a story of a man named Stanley. The narrator tells us the life of this Stanley and how he works in an office pushing buttons over and over, and being content with his life. But one day, his coworkers mysteriously disappear, and Stanley is left alone in his office. From then on, Stanley, aka the player, must make a series of choices to continue on with the story, and reach one of the many conclusions. You have a narrator to guide you where to go, but he is not in control of the story, no matter how much he thinks he is. The one in control here is you.
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Wow.
You control as Stanley, using the WASD keys to move around and the E key to press buttons and interact with objects. You don't fight enemies or solve problems, heck, you can't even jump. You just walk around, open doors, press buttons, and interact with other objects and see what happens. Stanley Parable is essentially a quirky walking simulator, where one explores an office and a narrator reacts to what is happening in the story. But there's also a lot more to it than that. The ability to choose is a major factor within this game. You can listen to the narrator if you'd like, follow his story, go on his set path, find out about the truth about the office and coworkers, and eventually escape. But that's just one path, one ending, one conclusion. One conclusion out of like, what, 15? There are lots of different outcomes in the Stanley Parable. You could listen to the narrator, sure, but you could also outright disobey him. You can interact with certain objects, you can go down certain branching pathways that lead to all sorts of different outcomes. You could even just chill in the broom closet. The broom closet ending is my favorite. Some of the endings range from expected, to shocking, to absolutely ridiculous, including one where you play a game where you have to save a baby from burning flames for 4 hours. 4 hours! Also, if you time the buttons just right, you get some funky fresh beats.
You heartless bastard.
I won't give anything else in detail away, as you should all experience these choices for yourself, and discover all the different endings completely blind, because each one is super creative. You could tell they had a lot of fun with thinking of ways to create new endings, as each one felt memorable in one way or another. They are extremely experimental and thought-provoking. It's really hard to talk about how great they are without going into further detail, but trust me when I say you're going to want to find as many as you possibly can. Just maybe Google the 4-hour baby ending.
But one of my favorite things about Stanley Parable has to be the narrator. Oh my god.
This is one of my favorite narrators in all of fiction. and the way he interacts with you is so important to the story. The game wouldn't be the same without him. He's with you throughout every playthrough, always narrating your actions, whether he agrees with them or not. This is where the game really shines with the writing and humor. The comedic timing is so perfect in this game, and the amount of dialogue this narrator has, and what is said depending on what you do, will leave you wanting to make sure there is no stone left unturned, no branching path unexplored. The narrator himself almost grows and changes with you based on the choices you make as well. If you follow his story, he acts as the typical narrator, but if you disobey him, he may grow to resent you if you keep defying him. If you get lost in the story, he may work to find the story with you, with the help of the famous adventure line, of course. Even when things get dark and even a bit sad, the narrator will even find himself questioning things and wondering if the choice is right itself, or if there's a choice even to be made in general. This game gets really deep. The voice of the narrator is performed well too. Kevin Briding's timing is absolutely perfect, and his voice fits so well. I can listen to his passive-aggressive remarks as he narrates my life any day. He can't keep me out of the broom closet though, no matter how much he tries. As stated, both you and the narrator go on a journey together. You both need each other in this game, and while the interactions between you can be humorous, a lot of times, based on the path you wander, things can get suspenseful, philosophical, dark, and even sad at points. The theme of choice is prevalent in the Stanley Parable. Whether your decisions actually matter, how your choices impact people and those around you, whether you are in control of the choices you make, what choices mean in gaming and in real life, there's so much thought and effort put into the theme of this game. I could write essays about the endings of all these games and what each and every ending symbolizes. I don't want to go into too much detail, but at the same time, I'm holding back to go into more detail. But honestly, if you haven't, I think you should experience this completely blind. Go into this with no expectations. You won't know what to expect, you won't know what's coming, and you'll be floored. Then you want to find all the secrets associated with the game too. And trust me, there are a lot of cool secrets. However, the one flaw I have with the Stanley Parable is the same one I have with other reaction-based games. You experience every ending possible, find every secret, and then that's it. Not really much replayability after that. Sure, you could show it to your friends who haven't experienced the game, but the Stanley Parable as a first-time experience is amazing. If you've already played the game or already know what's coming, you experience the main appeal of the game already, and depending on whether you like that sort of content, it may or may not be for everyone and may or may not be worth your money.
Even though I don't think Stanley Parable is that replayable of a game, I do think it's a game that you most certainly should check out.
In short, the game is hilarious, fun, and thought-provoking. The talent of the narrator, the creativity of the endings, and the timing of the jokes and experimental story make the game for me. I highly recommend it to anyone, especially for those who've never touched the game, as calling it a unique experience would putting it lightly. As for those like me, however, who've already experienced the game and want to try something new, a console version is apparently on the works as well. I don't know when it's gonna be done, but it's on the way. I have no doubt that the console version will have some exclusive secrets. Since the game is 7 years old at this point, I'm sure they thought of something new. But whether you're an old fan of Stanley's antics or hearing our beloved narrator for the first time, I say playing the Stanley Parable would most certainly be a fantastic choice.
Alright, now let's see what's next for Nintendo November. Oh my goodness, it's a hard copy this time.